first of all, for giving me this opportunity, to do a podcast with you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for giving me a chance to be here. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing that I want to ask you, कि कब लगा था पहली बार कि that I want to join the forces?
Okay, so probably you won't believe I've been in the armed forces for about 12 years now. So
Yeah.
I joined the National Defense Academy when I was 16 and a half years of age. 17 years of age. So 13 years now, actually.
Very young age, huh?
What? Yeah, pretty young age. So
Yeah, pretty young age, yeah.
yeah, it's been a long time. And when I actually felt, okay, so I never knew I wanted to join the army. कभी सोचा नहीं था.
Yeah.
Although my father was in the army.
Okay.
I had seen the army lifestyle, but like all kids, I was studying to do engineering, preparing for engineering in school. I joined an engineering college also. There's a college in Pune which I had joined. But the turning point happened when my roommate in first year of my engineering, he got rejected by the SSB interview.
Okay.
So when he came back, he was a little sad. So I was just curious कि ऐसा क्या होता है? You know, a couple of other people in the same college who they came back and they were rejected. And I had given my interview, SSB, NDA exam just for time pass. सारे form भरते हैं exam के school के बाद. So I got a call for interview after that. And first of all, I didn't go एक बार. But second time when I got an interview call again for an absentee batch, I was very curious to see कि होता क्या है. So I went for the interview, for the SSB interview, with no plans to join the army. While I was undergoing the whole process of 5 days of the SSB. And during my medicals, it was in Institute of Aerospace Management. वहाँ पे I met some pilots there, some naval pilots who would come for the medicals.
Yeah.
So I met them and I got a little motivated. And I did not even know what NDA was before that. But I got motivated after that and then I joined. Everybody told me during that time, 14 years back, army was not a very lucrative option, the armed forces. So everybody was like, you're doing engineering in a good college, you should probably not go. But I took my chance and I'm very happy I did that. I took that decision. So it just happened by chance.
Wow. Like there's basically no plan, that I want to join army, nothing like that, moreover.
I know a lot of my friends and I know a lot of people who जिनका aim होता है जिंदगी में बचपन से मुझे फौज join करना है. Unfortunately, that was not my aim. But it was not that I was not patriotic or I was not passionate about the armed forces. But it never occurred to me. ऐसे कभी सोचा ही नहीं कि फौज join कर सकते हैं. कभी सोचा नहीं था. It just happened by that.
अच्छा. Okay. So एक चीज मुझे लगता है कि people in the forces, like maybe in any form, like if you talk about CRPF army, in any form, moreover forces have a different mentality, and people, a normal civilian has a different sort of mentality. Like, do you sometimes feel कि ऐसा कभी लगता है कि it's difficult to mix with the crowd sometimes?
I would agree that there is a slight bit of a difference between a civilian and between somebody from the armed forces. But it's not very difficult to gel well with them or to match with them. But differences definitely have, और वो इस वजह से हैं क्योंकि this is the kind of training somebody in the armed forces has had. For someone like me who's joined the National Defense Academy immediately after school, I was shaped in that way to be a little different. The way I eat, the way I dress up or wear my uniform or I walk, that was different. But a lot of people who do their colleges outside and join later after finishing off with their graduation. So they also, they undergo the training period, there's something we have called drill we have in the armed forces, which people have to go through. And as they say, drill inculcates discipline, there is a fixed time for you to get up, for you to sleep. And there is a routine that you get into. And just merely by getting into a routine, it changes you.
Okay.
So, when I go home, I sleep until late and, I try to enjoy that life that my brother has and, that most of my civilian friends have. However, I can't do that for long, Second day, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I have nothing to do. So it's that change in routine and the kind of training that you undergo that changes you, that makes you a tad bit different from others. I don't see majorly any difference between the civilians and the armed forces. It's just the routine. Once you get into a routine, become a little disciplined, it's all the same.
Yeah. मुझे like you might be knowing a lot of this thing, but मुझे personally लगता है कि हमें जिंदगी जो चीज सिखाता है ना, वही कोई किताब नहीं सिखा पाएगा हम लोगों को. Like, you know, when you travel, ups and downs in life and what we go through in our life, like, do you feel that? Because you have seen the life in a different way. So, do you feel that?
I agree with you. You can never learn. आप किताब से पढ़ सकते हो बहुत कुछ, theoretically बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हो theory में, but practically आप जो सीखोगे उसको आप कभी भूलोगे नहीं, because it's your experience, and I would probably give you bigger experiences, like I would give an example from the armed forces only. So for example, you know, army में we have patrolling, you undergo threats with the enemy. So when you actually undergo a threat and you learn a lesson that if I do something wrong like this, it will cost me my life. You remember that forever. You will never forget it. So it's a bigger example. Generally in life, अगर आप कुछ करते हो और आप उससे सीखते हो, आपको पता है कि अगर मैं ये दोबारा करूँगा तो it might cost me something which could be my life or my money or anything. So those lessons are difficult to forget. जो किताब में पढ़ोगे आप शायद भूल जाओगे. Maybe आप if you read it over and over again, काफी बार पढ़ लोगे तो याद रहेगा. But actual life experience, and there are good experiences and bad experiences. So if you do something and if you have if you find something better out of it, you will remember that. It stays in your memory for a longer period, and it's easier to inculcate. Usko practice karna zyada aasan hai. So that's the only difference, I believe.
Yeah. So I want you to describe yourself and basically a brief description about you and your role. I wanted myself to give it, but I want you to do it.
Okay. So this is a slightly difficult question, but so my role, I'm an officer of the armed forces. I would not give more details than this, but first we go into the role of the armed forces, which a lot of people are confused about. In fact, my own friends, they don't know what I do. They don't know what the army does. They get confused between the armed forces, the army, the BSF, the CRPF. They think all the uniformed people are same. And they're doing the same job, but it's not the same. For instance, the other paramilitary forces, they come under a different ministry. Their job is different. But specifically, armed forces, the job of them is to protect the country from an external threat and protect the sovereignty and integrity of the nation. So these are big words, but anything related to these will be handled by the armed forces. Normal policing, taking care of the local people, local crowd, sometimes the armed forces might be called to aid the civil authority when everything else fails. जब police forces fail हो जाती है, या फिर it's difficult for them to control a mob or any situation like that, the armed forces might be called in. So the role is very big, it's very wide, but primarily it's the external threats. Anything which is out of the nation, कोई भी threat, to tackle that is the job of the armed forces. And my job particularly, specifically, and army has a lot of it, that has a wide spectrum in itself. I am an aviator, so I fly for the armed forces. That is my job, which is again, it's pretty varied in nature. We do a lot of things which I can't talk about.
True. कुछ सवाल इसके अलावा करते हैं, like the way I do the podcast, I want you to also do the podcast in the same way. ऐसा कुछ है जिंदगी में जिससे आप डरते हो और क्यों?
Okay, this reminds me of a statement by General Sam Manekshaw, Field Marshal. He says,
I think a movie is also being created on his name, which is coming up.
Yes, Sam.
Yeah.
I think Vicky Kaushal is there, I think,
Yeah.
He looks pretty much like him. So he said that anyone who says that I'm not scared of anything or scared of death is probably lying, or is a gurkha. So we're all scared of, especially death. That's one thing. So no one can say I'm not scared of death, but a lot of other things. And I believe having your own fears and apprehensions is okay. It's human. मेरे को एक ही चीज याद आ रही है that and you can overcome them. The best part is you can overcome all of these fears. Whatever you have, जो भी आपको डर लगता है, आप उसको overcome कर सकते हैं. So when I was a child, I used to be scared of snakes. When I was a small child, I saw a snake. Yeah, I saw a snake somewhere. And the look of a snake, it was so scary. It gave me chills down my spine. पूरी जिंदगी में डरता रहा क्योंकि दोबारा कभी सांप देखा नहीं, but thought में था. So I was always scared of it. Until and thankfully Army gave me that opportunity to handle a snake in my hands, you know, when I was going through a snake handling course. I realized that snakes are beautiful creatures. Then they should not be scared of.
Oh my God.
I think that's one example where I overcame a particular fear. But बाकी बहुत सारे fears होते हैं. We are all scared of injury to us or death to us, and it's human.
Yeah.
You know, there's no denying it.
What that snake course basically a brief idea, matlab, if it's possible to talk about.
Oh, it's okay. There's no particular course on snakes, but we have a course called Commandos, where we are all you know, taught to be a commando, basically. Get into a difficult territory and do operations which all commandos can do. So during that commandos course, you learn a lot of skills, right from survival in the jungle or in the face of the battle or the enemy. And a part of it, very small part of it, is handling a snake, because you might need to, you know, save yourself from a snake, or maybe eat a snake. Then there's nothing. You'll probably catch a snake and eat. So a small part of it, very small part of it, just maybe 2 lectures and maybe 1 lecture on handling was about snakes. So the course is called Commandos, but a part of it was snakes, about snakes and handling snakes.
So you know, मेरा main motto ही होता है ये session करने का. If any way I can help the upcoming youth and those who are gonna watch this thing, you know, now or afterwards, that what do you feel like? Is arrogance important in life, or it's only the humbleness that makes one successful?
Of course, being humble is a very important trait, and it's not easy that comes to you. And arrogance will probably not take you anywhere. You know, you might be arrogant and you lose onto your friends, lose onto your professional caliber, lose onto opportunities in life. And I'm not saying that it's easy to just not be arrogant and be humble all the time. It's very difficult. It's the most difficult thing, actually. However, one thing I support of is professional arrogance. So if you have professional arrogance, if you know your job, if you're professionally competent, that might be acceptable. And again, not in all conditions, not in all times. I don't know if you've heard this, but I've heard, you know, there's this statement, a lot of friends of mine and people have asked me that why are a lot of pilots arrogant? And when I thought about it, probably it is true. You know, if you take the movie Top Gun, have you seen it? You know, it shows a different kind of arrogance, but that's professional arrogance. And that's taught to a pilot probably because so that he knows it's not, now it's still safer and easier, but flying was always a dangerous sport and a dangerous thing to do, where you had you know, a lot of threats to your safety, because you're not meant to fly. I'm talking about 30 years, 40 years back. So pilots were all taught that you're amazing, you're the best people, you're doing something that no one is doing. And they started thinking too high about themselves. But it made them perform better. It made them, that's a different kind of professional arrogance, I believe. That is acceptable. But then it starts affecting your interpersonal relationships. I think arrogance will take you nowhere.
You know, आजकल के ज़माने में, like, I see this thing a lot. Like, I think we also being a part, like, we all are running for happiness in social media. Like, हम हर कोई दिखाते रहते हैं कि हम खुश हैं, घूम रहे हैं, ये वो. Personally, down the line, I see a lot of people, those who share happiness on social media, but really unhappy on their real life. Do you see people like that? And like, what do you feel on that?
Okay. See, I think because we are humans, हम लोग human हैं, तो we need validation. सबको शाबाशी चाहिए होती है, but शाबाशी शायद नहीं मिल पाती है. और you know, there's no one the moment someone says ki, you've done a great job, you feel good, you feel great about it, makes you happy for that brief moment. But and Facebook and Instagram, took advantage of that probably, and then the number of likes you have, and you feel more validated that people like my picture, I look better, or whatever I'm doing, I'm playing a sport, and if I put it on Instagram, people are liking it. So it gives you an instant validation, and of course, validation gives you happiness. So it gives you happiness. A lot of people also do it as a method of, escapism, where you're probably not happy. Nobody validates you. You don't feel too good about people around you. So we tend to seek it if you don't find happiness in one place, you'll seek it somewhere else. So that is what people probably do, probably. However, is it good? Is it worth it? That's debatable. It's always better to find happiness with people around you, with your family, with your friends. If you don't get it, maybe online, why not?
I want to ask you, how was your childhood? Kaisa raha? Like, are you a naughty kid, or how was it? Where were you during your childhood? Where you were brought up?
So I have been brought up all over the country. You won't believe, 12 years, first standard to 12th standard. I have changed good about 10 different schools. So every year I was in a new school, in a new place. Probably my father he was in the army. He used to get posted to a new place every 2 years. Sometimes I had to change schools between those 2 years as well. So it was pretty unstable, but it taught me a lot. You learn when you move to a new place, you make new friends, you go to a new place, you learn about that place. Vis-a-vis staying in, so both has its advantage. एक ही जगह आप रह रहे हो पूरी बचपन, तो शायद कुछ चीजों में आपको फायदा है. But I think personally, when I moved from one place to the other every 2 years or every 1 year, initially I used to cry, I used to become sad that we're going to a new place, getting posted to a new place, because I would lose my friends. I was a child. Then for first 15 days I'll cry and I'll be sad, and 15 days I'll make new friends and I'll be happy again, like all kids are. So I've had a geographically unstable childhood, and this taught me a lot of things. I think that's how my childhood was. Different schools, different places, different locations. But when you're talking about being naughty, I was pretty indisciplined to say, which probably I still am, somewhere, I don't know. But I think that's why I was meant to be in the army, to probably cut me down, hold my horses.
So now if I ask you, do you feel satisfied now, or is it like, because you achieved a lot in your profession, being in the army, because it's a dream for a lot of people to to get a chance into NDA, and you are now 14 years down the line. So is it you feel satisfied, or still you feel like there's a lot more to hustle?
Of course, I couldn't have had a better life, a better lifestyle for that matter. And I'm very happy that life gave me this opportunity and this chance to be here, to join the armed forces, even though I did not know how life would be when I joined. But now when I look back, I think, touch wood, God was very kind, and my stars were aligned in a good way, and I got to join the armed forces. And I've learned so much. The armed forces has taught me so much. It has given me a lot, and it is giving me an opportunity to serve, and nothing more than that. So I'm very, very happy. It's a question I never thought about, but now when I think of it, I'm grateful that I got a chance to join the armed forces.
So as you said, I think around 17 years you got into cleared SSB, na? Around 17 of years.
Yeah, I was 16 and a half, 17 years of age.
Okay. So basically NDA and that part was like your college life. जो होता है 12th के बाद किसी की college life होता है, तो वो आपके NDA रहा and आपकी training. If I ask you, how was your days during that time, especially about NDA? Because I have seen a lot of aspirants, they are crazy about NDA. Sometimes they DM me, please ask your officers about their life. And kaisa raha? Are you still connected with those batchmates, cadetmates? How everything is there now?
So the kind of relationship that you make, the kind of bond that you make with your batchmates, it's lifelong. Even now, whenever you meet some ex-NDA, anyone, you ask him which SCON, which course, just that's a simple question. Batchmates, so chalo, they're like buddies, they're like brothers. That's a different thing. You've trained with them, you've learned so much with them. And, as they say, the National Defense Academy makes men out of boys. So you became man from a boy with them. So वो तो बहुत ही unexplicable सा experience है. But being in NDA, yeah, people might be thinking कि बहुत मुश्किल होता होगा, बहुत difficult होता होगा. Life would be hell probably, and a lot of people say, and a lot of people think that people are enjoying college outside. I think NDA it's only 300 people in a batch get to attend NDA from the whole country. And about 5 to 6 lakh people apply for that exam for those 300 seats. So lucky are those 300 people who get to join the National Defense Academy. It's the finest academy in the world, and it's a beautiful curriculum. It's not very. It is difficult for sure, but it is not inhuman or something. The curriculum is designed in such a way that everything is taught to you, in a structured phase, and. I was very lucky to have been blessed with that opportunity to join the National Defense Academy.
Yeah. So, I won't take much of your time. It's a pleasure to have you. There's a last question that I want to ask you. I'm very much fascinated about people in the forces. You know why? Honestly speaking, I'm not someone who wants to get into the forces or so-called NDA lover or something like that. But why I'm fascinated, the reason behind is, I love to talk to the people from the forces because मुझे personally लगता है कि आप लोगों के अंदर ना एक जज्बा होता है, एक जुनून होता है जो आप लोग कैरी करते हो, तो एक बात करके ना मजा आता है. एंड people from the forces, आप लोग कुछ ना कुछ शेयर करते हो, which actually helps us during our down phase of the life. So I want to ask you, you also go through a lot of ups and downs in lives or situations where you're pissed off or situations against you. So how you tackle yourself during that time?
We all do, सबकी life में ups and downs होते हैं, professionally, personally, and there is a different mechanism in which everyone tackles it. My personal way, for example, my profession is to fly, and it's pretty. If you don't take care of yourself, you don't sleep in time, if you don't eat in time. It will give you more stress, and flying in a stressful environment is not good for you. Sometimes you might have an altercation with someone, with your loved ones, with your closed ones, with your family members. Ladai ho jati hai. What I do is when I go and when I'm going for flying, I leave everything aside. When I sit in the cockpit, all I know is that I'm going to fly. I leave everything aside. I know it's difficult to do. Personally, I do that. I don't think of anything in that moment, and I'm in that moment. Along with that, a lot of other things I take care of my sleep. I make sure that I get at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night before I fly the next day. And I eat my meals before I fly. Pre-flight meals are important. So these are things that I can do on my own level. You talked about getting pissed off. So we do get pissed off. We do get angry at people. But when it comes to my profession, when I'm in the cockpit, I leave everything aside. Maybe I come back after my flight, after my sortie, and then I do my things and get back to it. But while I'm doing my job, I leave it aside. That is my
कुछ दिन पहले ना I was watching a documentary. So there was somebody, मैं भूल गया उसका नाम. So he's a professor from Oxford or Harvard University. So he was describing the character of a people shows up how they speak. If somebody is speaking very frequent and very fast, so it shows that he's always in a hurry in life and they are going to do some mistakes in life. So मैं आपके साथ जब बात कर रहा था इतना देर से, I saw one thing about you, that you were very settled down and calm and enjoying and talking. So what I feel I think you are personally like that too. Always sorted.
Well, I can't comment on that. Maybe people who know me would be able to comment better on that. But I would like to believe that, however it might appear outside, we're all perturbed inside. We all have energies inside that are burning. But at least we can put up a calm face. When we are working, I personally believe especially my profession, I give all the due respect and sincerity to it. And I do that with due diligence and calmness. That is a different thing. Baki cheezein, I try to separate and try to handle both the things. So that's how it is. It's all a mental exercise, and it's a deliberate attempt to be calm. Nobody's calm.
बट कभी कभार होता है ना, लाइक जिंदगी में चलते चलते कि किसी ने कुछ कह दिया, यू कुछ देख लिया, डज दोस थिंग्स बॉदर यू एज अ पर्सन?
आई एम ह्यूमन, सब इंसान हूं मैं भी, तो अगर आपको कभी कोई कुछ बोल देता है, अच्छा नहीं लगता है, तो it does pinch you, it's normal बात है. But and sometimes, a lot of times, we reply back also. We do things that we should not, and we regret later कि वो शायद नहीं बोलना चाहिए था उस टाइम पे, या ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था. It happens with everyone. But all I make sure is that it does not happen with my profession, because it's a profession where you need a lot of calmness and sincerity. Flying के time पे, if you have stress and if things are bothering you, तो आप, you might not be able to give your best. Apart from that, when you're back home, you do make mistakes. Sometimes things might happen which you might take a wrong step, but that's always corrective. You can always take corrective measures. आप कोई गलती हो जाए आपसे तो आप उसको सुधार सकते हो, पर जहाँ पे आप नहीं सुधार सकते हो वहाँ पे गलती नहीं करनी चाहिए.
True. Yeah. So thank you so much for giving me this time and opportunity. It's a pleasure to have you on my podcast. I won't take much of your time because you are flying throughout the day today. Take care, and
thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here with you and be online, and I hope your viewers and our viewers get motivated or learn something.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.